This incredible scenery and the smell of the pines is still etched in my mind from 12 months ago when my good friend Andrew and I journeyed here to Idaho to chase our dream of stalking a bull elk with the bow. Throughout the last decade, our elk journey has taken us from the rugged mountains of Fiordland in the southern hemisphere to the remote forests of the Rocky Mountains in North America. 2 years ago, we set ourselves a goal to come here and take a public land bull self-guided in a wilderness area with over-the-counter tags. And last year, we came close, so close, but just couldn't get a shot. Well, now we're as ready as we'll ever be. It's late September, it's the bugle, but this time it's a new style of adventure. On this hunt, we're going in by horse. We'll be dropped in a remote camp to fend for ourselves deep in the wilderness. Over the next 2 episodes, we'll document our 10-day hunt, bring you in close to the action, where you can live the adventure right here with us. As always, with pure free-range hunting, the chance of success is low and maybe 10% at best. But if you're like us and you're in it for the lure of the unknown, the remote wilderness and the pure thrill of the hunt, then success is guaranteed. After touching down in the US, our journey started from Boise in Idaho, where we loaded up with food, tags and licenses, then headed out across the plains to start climbing into the Rockies. After a long haul, the pines finally came into view. We reached our base camp to get set for the early ride in the next morning. The guys at the pack station were super organised, and after we laid out our gear, it didn't take them long to start loading up the pack mules. A drop camp is a fantastic option for self-guided elk hunters, particularly those like us that chase the remote country, as by law, all meat must be recovered from any animal taken. By having a sat phone with us when an animal is down, we can call in our location and the guys will ride back in with the mules to pack out the meat. With the mules now loaded up, our riding horses were saddled up, and before we knew it, we were away, headed for the backcountry. Climbing out of the foothills, the scenery got better and better. The tight valleys opened up into rolling meadows with benches and scattered pines, all of which was prime elk country. Up ahead, we got our first glimpse of the remote head basin we would soon call home. Nearly into camp, about 5 minutes to go apparently. Beautiful ride in. Going all right there, Greg?
Yeah, good.
Cubs, man?
Yeah, all good.
Can't complain about the day. Unbelievable. The ride in had been an absolute dream. The legs were a bit sore as expected, but after a quick stretch we unloaded the gear, said our goodbyes, then the pack string headed out to leave us to get down to business. As is often the case, being flexible is the key to some of these hunts. We've ended up in a different camp to what we planned, and we've planned for a few months, but this isn't a bad thing, and we've come here for a reason. The camp that we were intending to go in has ended up with quite a few resident hunters in it. So the guys here recommended we come over to another system, another drainage that's been a lot quieter, so that's fine with us. I mean, we came here to find elk and get away from people, so it's no problem with a late change of plans. We were intending just to be dropped off and were ready to hunt basically out of our packs with some lightweight fly gear, but instead they've put us up in this drop camp, as they call it. So we've got here a traditional North American wall tent, which is pretty cool. That's all got our stores and an awesome cooking area and supply area, and we'll also have another little tent or our hammocks and stuff to just camp out as per normal, but we'll go and have a look inside. This is a pretty good setup, big heavy canvas wall tent. They rigged them up on these permanent shelters, or semi-permanent, just made from the logs here, and an A-frame and a couple of sides to pin the sides out. And you're laughing, and this will withstand heavy, nasty North American winter. Absolutely laughing for us for this time of year, weather-wise. A couple of tables for all our gear, some propane stoves, so even some camp chairs, that's a luxury. Some stretchers, we've got all our food, we've got some salt, our basic camp gear out there and hunting gear. We are absolutely set. With With the afternoon cooling off, we wasted no time in gearing up for our first look around. Thanks to the experienced staff at Abbey Archery in Sydney, we were kitted out in style, shooting Hoyt 70-pound carbon matrix bows with Eastern arrows and 125 grain trophy taker broadheads. It's been a big build-up, but finally underway. The release aid's on. We're going to head up behind camp onto the ridge, let a few bugles out, have a good glass and just see what happens. After months of examining maps and formulating plans, we were finally on the ground and the terrain was a lot more open than expected. In hunting, this can work both ways. We can see them, but they can also see us. We climbed high up the big hill behind camp, headed for the ridge and the more timbered country in the valley behind us.
Coming up the side of this draw here, we've got water, we've got feed. Looked across, we can even see the bedding areas. It makes sense that elk would be here.
It's warm, but we're into it. Andrew called it back there with that draw and the elk beds. And we're on fresh marks up here. We got bull marks. This is as fresh as it gets. This will be the last 24 hours, if not today. The sun hasn't burned off any of that dust. We're on the money. Righto, first bugle of the trip. My first bugle rang through the valley unanswered. We didn't want to stir things up too much though, so with the sun dropping fast, we headed for a high point to do some glassing. I'm trying hard to contain my excitement here because we've just spotted a herd of elk. Our first afternoon, the sun's just about to drop into witching hour. They're probably a good K away, but who cares? We have found a herd of elk. We'll try and get a spotter onto these. Light is dropping, but it's probably 30 animals over there, just feeding away. Fantastic, such a relief. So many months of planning, such a journey to come up here and bang, we're onto them. Incredible feeling. And just as we thought that group of animals was a herd of cows, Andrew waited on the spotter and picked up the bull hanging down in the pine trees. And he's slowly herded them now together and come out. It's a bit dark to film now through the spotter at that distance. There's definitely a bull and he's a 6x6. So what an awesome way to wrap up the first day with a red hot glassing session like that. Who knows, we might chase them in the morning, they might be gone in the morning, but at least we've got a start. He's let out a couple of faint bugles and a couple of chuckles. We got a big day tomorrow. Confidence is high. This place just keeps producing on our way back to camp. Our wall tent's only 200 metres down in front of me. I've got 3 mule deer over my left shoulder. Beautiful morning. The moon just setting there behind us. The plan this morning, we've just come up above camp. It's probably only 150 metres down here below us onto a little spur. And we've got a great angle of vision into where we saw that herd of elk last night that actually grazed out over the ridge out of this drainage. But we've also got a good look in to some benches where we met another hunter who was packing out, an older hunter who'd been poking around down there and seen quite a few elk moving across a band of under some cliffs. That was a great heads up for us, so we've got to start there and a start there. Just got to sit here, wait for the sun to come up and we can get our eyes on them. Half an hour or so of light didn't really produce much. We didn't see any sign of that herd and that big bull from last night, but did just pick up on some. There seems to be maybe half a dozen cows, and I did just see a raghorn, they call that, about a 4-point either side, a double 4, making their way through that really thick regrowth on the edge of the pines. They're a long way from us and straight downwind of us, so probably unlikely that we'll go down there and chase them, but good to know they're there. Greg let out a bugle earlier, didn't get any answer. We're just going to sit tight and play it quiet. We don't want to go lighting up this valley, bugling too much, or really just tell every elk exactly where we are if they're not talking. There's no point in giving our position away. We've got really good vision here.
The small herd of elk below us moved on none the wiser, and we decided to pack up and head higher above us to the dividing ridge between our valley and the one behind. From back home, we'd examined it on maps and Google Earth, and it definitely looked promising. Seeing it in the flesh, though, it looked more promising by the minute.
Beautiful valley here. We've been glassing for about half an hour or so. Greg's picked up on some wallows down the bottom. We saw a mule deer opposite. And Andrew's just heard a bugle straight down here below us. Greg heard it as well. I just heard another one. So, well, it's been a pretty quiet morning. That's a positive sign. We've drawn right up on the hill behind camp. So now we're going to head down and try and get above this animal. We'll see if we can find him. I would have thought we would have seen something in here for sure, but that's the way it goes. Heard him again. That is what we want to see. Fresh elk droppings. It doesn't get any fresher the last few hours or just in the night. On our way down this direction, it's cold. We've made it out to where we think we're above that bull, and we're just about to get Greg to launch, and he's gone already.
Yeah, he's straight down in that dark timber. We're just going to set up here and get eyes on it for a while. They shouldn't be going too far. They'll be looking for a good dark bit of timber to bed up in. We'll start glassing it and see if we can find them, let those thermals settle. Once they've settled, we can start to move down into that valley.
Yeah, it's still the morning. The wind's still sort of trying to work out whether it's going to sink or rise. We want it to be rising up. How's the scenery, mate?
Yeah, unreal. What a spot.
We set to the task of thoroughly scanning each and every opening in the forest below us looking for elk. After roughly an hour of searching, Andrew's keen eyes finally hit the jackpot.
Andrew just made a great pickup. He spotted that bull down there bedded. We just got the spotter on him and confirmed he's a 6x6 bull. He was bedded for a while. He stood up and he's just moved down to the creek. His cows are just bedded on the other side, so we've got a feeling he's going to move across there and probably rebed with them. Thermals are starting to stabilise now, so once we can really pinpoint where he is, we're looking good to get in there and get a set up.
This is probably a good time to have a quick run through of just exactly what's going on here and the dynamic of the bugle at this time. So hopefully he might send one out halfway through this take, but we're in late September. We're coming into the last week of archery season and theoretically the rut. So what happens at the start of the rut? The bulls and the cows, it comes into season. It's all by the moons and the weather and etc. and the time of the year. I won't go into that, but there's a lot of calling, a lot of moving going on with bulls seeking out cows, seeking out a harem, and then middle of the rut, traditionally they start to settle a bit that they've taken cows and they start to defend them. And being this last week of the rut, what we're expecting to see is dominant bulls holding a herd of cows. And so what you've got to try and do as a hunter and as an archer is get in there close enough to make a call, and it's up to you whether you can lure that bull out, or if he's big and dominant he might not want to fight, might want to take him away, or you've got satellite bulls hanging around that herd
that are frustrated that they can't get in because that big guy's defending them, and you're a chance at those satellite bulls. Now that satellite bull might be still a 6x6, it might be a raghorn spike, who knows. But coming in here this morning and just hearing a couple of the calls, you got to think, oh, why is that animal calling? Is he calling to get into a herd, or is he calling to protect a herd? So we hadn't seen anything. We'd just heard a couple of bugles, and then Andrew spotted him, and Greg was able to get in there and identify him, and sure enough, he's holding a harem or a group of maybe 6 or 8 cows. So we know what we're up against, and we've got to get in there and try and tantalise him, either by cow calls to get him to come out, to think he's lost one of his cows and bring him back into his harem. If that doesn't work, maybe bugle and encourage him into a fight situation where he's going to come and be the aggressor and repel us away from his harem of cows. So there's quite a few options, but that's a bit of a rundown on the game that we're playing. And as always, there's 100 variables, and with elk, and the bigger the herd, the bigger the number of eyes, the bigger the number of ears, and the longer the odds of success are.
Just over 2,200 metres, a bit higher than back home.
After planning our stalk over a quick feed, we headed down the ridge to move in on the big 6x6 bull elk, and the whole way down there was plenty of sign to remind us that we were in his territory.
That gives you confidence. That is a serious highway. What a game trail. Absolutely rutted out, dusty.
After descending slowly for around 45 minutes, we closed in on the landmarks we'd previously referenced earlier from our glassing spot high up on the ridge. We double-checked the wind, then started to plan the final details of our setup to try and call in the bull.
Oh, it's go time now. Just been trying to keep myself calm. Greg's going to be calling and shooting. Andrew's on the camera. I'll be in being the prime shooter, but you could go either way. You can start to get the feel for the team effort that this is. We'll have to go super quiet from here on in. We're probably about 100 metres, 75 metres from where we want to set up, if that. And the elk are bedded across this small creek in front of us. We've got to pull the bull across the creek to us.
We snuck in the final few metres required, then I left Greg, and together with Andrew we stalked forward to take up our ambush spot beside a pine. Just as we got set and before we made a call, the bull sussed something wasn't right and threw our plan out the window, letting rip with a warning bugle. This gathered up his cows, putting them on full alert. Greg tried hard to keep him interested with calls and by raking trees, but he was determined to play it safe and moved off slowly through the pines.
That setup's gone the way of the bull, funnily enough, as it most often does, but not too disappointed. Greg did really well calling. He was back up there, straight up behind me. I was set up here in front of this pine tree with a beautiful shooting lane through this open, broken timber. But just as we got set, he bugled, maybe thought something was up, I don't know. Greg was cow calling, and he was interested, but the cows got up and he just took them away. The cows meandered along the creek here in front of me. They weren't concerned, they didn't smell us. And then, sure enough, at the end, the bull appeared, shuffling them along. Got a good look at him, he's a beautiful big bull. And then, unfortunately, he didn't want to play. Despite Greg's top effort trying to keep him interested, he was raking and cow calling. But he obviously thought, these are my cows. I don't want to fight, I'm just going to take them away. Which is often the natural reaction. Animals really don't want to fight if they don't have to. So he took them right up the spur here, probably 200, 300 metres. We got some footage of them as they headed up there into the dark timber. Beautiful breeze in our face. Everything was right, but he just didn't want to come. Such is elk hunting.
Undeterred, we started the long haul back up and out of the basin, being very cautious to not let our scent flow through it and up to the elk that had previously moved off. After a flat out morning, we rested out the middle of the day at a strategic spot high on the ridge, where our scent was blown well away from where we wanted to hunt. By mid-afternoon, we were set up with the binos and spotting scope to try and catch them again as they started to move.
Even though that setup this morning didn't go our way, the good thing we took away from it was that we didn't scare them. They decided to move away on their own. They hadn't smelt us. So we've made the call to stay in the head of this basin and wait them out. It's about 3 o'clock now, and it's a good time of the day for animals to get up and move. And sure enough, after about an hour of waiting and looking, examining all these pine trees, we've finally spotted them. They've come out on the opposite face in the head of this basin. So now it's a real sit and wait. The best thing about being in the afternoon this time is the animals are getting more and more active. They're more on the move. There's a chance they may even come round to here where we are. There's a lot of sign through here. That would be ideal. Otherwise, if they come out, we might get a chance of going for this guy. Like last night, that bull was really active and the cows were feeding away, and he had a lot of work maintaining them, keeping them together, so that's a good chance of a shot. So we're hoping that's going to happen. Well, as close as we've got, and aggressive as we were, we decided to just play it safe at the last bit, and it's probably paid off, because instead of coming this way, that whole herd of elk has grazed away from us and up towards the distant skyline. So while we could be a bit silly and chase them, the chance of success is very low. So we're going to play it safe, not pressure them, and head on home. But what a good day. So close. And we always know he's here to come back to.
Moroka 30 is the proud hunting clothing and equipment sponsor of Beyond the Divide, custom designed for our local conditions and uniquely Australian. Ask for it in store at your local gun shop or check out the full range at moroka30.com.au.